And stand for the pledge, and would you remain standing after the pledge for a few moments for support and sympathy to our fellow citizens in France.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. First thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the April 7th and the October 27th meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The payroll, November 2nd, November 16th, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The claims, October 29th and November 5th and November 12th, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And the employee benefit fund distribution for October 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. We're going to kind of go out of line here on this agenda because we have a fairly lengthy one, and we have people that always come for the last portion, which is the correspondence that takes the least amount of time, and we make them sit through the entire meeting while we do everything else and then take care of them. So we're going to run through the correspondence first this time. We have a request for approval by Vicki Urbanek, Porter County Auditor, to proclaim Tuesday, December 15th, 2015, Indiana Statehood Day, and the official kickoff of the bicentennial. Indiana will celebrate its 200th anniversary of statehood on December the 11th, 2016.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of official bond for me. Porter County Commissioner, the bond is at the total amount of $300,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of official bond for Jeff Good, Porter County Commissioner, and the bond is in the amount of $300,000.
So moved.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of the official bond of Vicki Urbanek, Porter County Auditor, and the bond is in the amount of $300,000.
So moved.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of official bond for Martin A. McKay, the Porter County Highway Department. The bond is in the amount of $8,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of official bond for Raymond Riddell, Porter County Engineer, and the bond is in the amount of $8,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of official bond for Altamira, Portage Township Assessor. The bond is in the amount of $15,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval of maintenance agreement with the Record Automatic Doors, formerly known as Great Lakes Automatic Doors, for the Porter County Administration Building, Courthouse, and North County Complex.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval by Steve Kearney of the Lakeshore Striders to hold a 10 and 25-kilometer run on Sunday, March the 13th, 2016. The run will be held in memory of Rusty Schultz to raise funds in support of cancer research in his honor. The route will begin south on Brown School, east on 1225 north to 450 east, south on Burdick, east to 675 east, north on 1550 north, west on 425 east, south on 1400 north, east on 400 east, south of 1200 north, and return to the school. The run has been discussed with David James, Highway Supervisor, and with the Sheriff of Porter County.
I'll make the motion.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Budget adoption, hospital interest fund 490200030, account 1220, $1,324,000, medical and life insurance, account 3962, $50,000, Opportunity Enterprises, account 3963, $600,000, Youth Service Bureau, and account 3981, $450,000, Council on the Aging. Total budget estimate, $2,424,000 even.
I'll make the motion.
Motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for reduction of appropriation Commissioners Fund 4902, $1,062,018, hospital interest, jail security system.
Are we sure we're doing it this way?
No, we're not going to do that one?
Or are you talking about doing maybe the lease?
Well, let's leave that one because the sheriff's here and Mike Jabo's here, and we'll talk about it at the end. Request for additional appropriation Commissioners, same thing. Okay, this is the building and structures one over. Okay, all right, that knocks out correspondence, so. All right, Judge Harper and Allison Cox, Juvenile Detention Center Director, Breeze Race, raising awareness, changes everything, initiative against domestic violence. Hi, Allison.
Hi.
Hi, Judge. I'm sorry, I didn't see you sitting there. I certainly would have made you wait.
Thanks.
No, that's okay. I'm just handing out some overviews
All
for
right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now. There you go. Well, I appreciate you letting us come to talk to you today about Breeze Race. This is an initiative that the judge and we at the Juvenile Services Center wanted to implement in memory of Bree Hefner-Baller. Bree was one of my supervisors in juvenile detention that was murdered by her husband on Mother's Day this year. She leaves behind her 2-year-old daughter, a devastated family, devastated coworkers and friends. Mainly what Breeze Race is all about is to raise awareness about domestic violence. And so something that the judge and I and a small board that we have put together, who also includes Bree's mother, have worked with the Caring Place and the Community Foundation in regards to wanting to raise more awareness, to really saturate social media, to saturate the web, using Facebook, using a website, Twitter, you name it, in regards to getting the word out in regards to domestic violence. And so that's mainly what we wanted to do. We've had a few meetings. We are working on a website. I've started a Facebook account that I haven't activated yet, but I'm working on it. And so that's mainly what we wanted to do. So we wanted to make you aware of some of the work that we were doing, and we would like to come back and update you in regards to some of the work that we're doing in cooperation with the Caring Place. Judge, I didn't know if you wanted to...
Right. To do this work, obviously, we're using county equipment, county computers. We might be working on our lunch hour, but it ends up being an executive branch and a judicial branch sort of co-sponsored kind of project. And so we wanted to let you know what we're doing. I've worked with domestic violence, since I started as a judge, chair of the Justice Committee of the Mayor's Commission Against Domestic Violence. Sheriff is on that. He knows a lot about it. And we got a lot of pamphlets out there that tell people what they need to do in the event that they are a victim of domestic violence, okay? But we don't have a good social media campaign. My employee was a vibrant, smart, young, progressive gal. And there are a lot of women in that situation who are victimized by domestic violence. Their children are significantly impacted by domestic violence. And my commitment out of this was to find a better way to get the message out. And it's a message that spans all ages and all aspects. For example, selecting your companion. If you're in a situation, what do you need to look for? How do you define a safety plan? What are the resources that are available in this community? People think Caring Place is just a shelter. It is so much more. So we want to develop this campaign. We obviously would need assistance from the county, from IT, because we're going to want to be putting the messages on business and government, law enforcement, education-owned websites. Somebody goes to check their payroll, their paycheck. There should be a message there relating to domestic violence, and we want to saturate the community, but we also know that we're using some county resources, and we would ask for your approval of that.
Good. I think it to be commended, for sure. I have no problem at all giving you whatever you need, so I don't know how my fellow
I think
commissioners feel.
social media is a fantastic way to reach people that might not otherwise be out and about, so picking things up.
So we're just asking if it's okay with you, if we proceed, work with IT, and keep working with Community Foundation and Caring Place.
Go make our county better.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we ought to do that in the form of a motion so that there's no...
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And Sharon, I'm sure you'll give the judge and her group complete cooperation, so...
Right. It's a pleasure to work with IT.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for fixing my rug, too.
Oh, we got her done finally.
Yeah, I think we're done. Take care. Thanks so much.
You bet.
Okay, an ordinance to establish the creation of a charitable nonprofit foundation to hold the proceeds from the sale of the county-owned hospital in trust for the benefit of the county. This is second reading. Anyone have anything to say?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve on second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. An ordinance creating stormwater system user fees. Is Bob here? There he is.
Come on, Chuck.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Good afternoon, Bob. I asked Chuck to get some GIS map displays up.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yes. All right, I can get started on a few things here while Chuck is getting this up. Yesterday, November 16th, at the Stormwater Management Board hearing, they held a public hearing for the review of a stormwater user fee, and they went forward and adopted a user fee with some revisions from the original proposed ordinance that was going forward. The revisions are down here. I dropped them off at the Commissioner's office. What they requested yesterday at the end was to change the agricultural user fee to an acre-based fee. And within the appendix on that, it's under Property Class Codes 100, which is the agricultural lands. That has been changed over, instead of a flat fee for the parcel of 80 acres or any additional 80 acres, it's been changed over to an acre fee of $0.229 per acre per month, or what comes out to being $2.75 a year per acre. That change was made. Also, the residential was changed on the ordinance to cap it. It was a ladder scheme in that sense, where 0 to 10 acres approximately, it was going to be $10 per month. From 10 to 20, it was $12.50 per month, and anything greater than 20 acres for a residential parcel was going to be at $15 per month. So those were the two changes that the Stormwater Board revised and approved, and that is with the ordinance that's before the Commissioners. And to briefly go through the presentation that was done yesterday, on that, in the very beginning, as you see here, we have the map of Porter County, very bland. I'm going to add some layers here. The first layer we're going to add is the municipalities. And I guess I should start off by saying, too, that one of the reasons why we're going forward with this is due to the fact that the United States EPA requirement for water quality and mostly for the MS4 position that we had to create here going forward. And the requirement for us to get a permit that it's administered through IDEM, basically the federal and state unfunded mandate that's come down onto us concerning stormwater and water quality. As you can see here, we put on the layer of the municipalities. The municipalities do charge this user fee also. Valparaiso charges it. City of Portage has a user fee in place. Chesterton has it. The town of Porter has it. So the Stormwater Management Board does have the jurisdiction in the unincorporated area of Porter County, excluding the municipalities, which are shown in gray. They also do not have jurisdiction over conservancy districts that have the charge of drainage. The yellow there shows all of the conservancy districts that do have the charge of drainage, and I should point out the one that's just on the east side of Chesterton is Indian Boundary. That's strictly sanitary. But the other ones do have the charge of drainage. Those people right now are being assessed a special tax for drainage. Water also can be included, or sanitary, but drainage is included in all of those. The next one I want to bring up is the regulated drain fee that was in with our drainage board. This cross-hatched area shows all of the areas that are currently being charged a special tax within the watershed of a regulated drain. Also the federal and state lands that are coming up, and I wanted to show that to take out more of the unincorporated areas. There you're looking at, basically, the municipalities have the tax on this, the majority of them, I should say, or the greatest part of the population of the, within the municipalities do have the special fee going on for the stormwater. We have the conservancy districts, they're already paying it, and then we have the crosshatched area, they're paying it with the regulated drain. This leaves the lime green area still that does not have a user fee or does not pay anything towards drainage. Currently, we have been doing a lot of the drainage projects in this area with seeded funding. We originally started off with seeded funding, I believe, at one point at $1 million for drainage, and that has now gone down to $200,000 for drainage projects going into next year. We do need something to help us. We have the MS4 program that we have to do with the water quality that's mandated. We have been doing that right now with Rich Hudson as our MS4 coordinator. He's contracted, and he's been doing a lot of the work with the water quality. And a lot of this is coming forward because we need help in a number of the areas. In my office, for example, a utility inspector to go out and actually review developments that are going forward to assure that the drainage is going in properly with new developments coming in. There's something we do not have, and we cannot fund within the Plan Commission office. Also to go back and look at a number of the issues with drainage all across the county. I'll give you one example. In some of the subdivisions that were built back in the 60s, the infrastructure that's within these things, the infrastructure has a material lifespan, and the material lifespan is slowly going, where we're going to have to go back in and replace a lot of the infrastructure in that. There's no doubt a concrete pipe has a lifespan, 50, 60 years. A metal pipe could even be less, so we're going to have to go forward and do a lot of work in subdivisions. So with that, we did propose a user fee and look forward to going with the Stormwater Board on that. And I guess with that, I will open it up to any questions you may have.
The survey was done, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, with the dollar amount to fix the county's
Okay.
problems at $20 million.
Thank you for bringing that up. But Chuck has another layer, and we displayed this yesterday over at the Stormwater Management Board meeting yesterday. What we have right here, and we still have the crosshatched area for the regulated drains on that, but now he's taking it off. The commissioners in 2010 went forward with the comprehensive drainage study within Porter County. We had the Lake Michigan watershed looked at, and we also had the Kankakee River watershed looked at. They did an extensive public survey on this area. We have maps, and I have them up in my office, looking into the areas that people responded to our surveys. We had a number of public hearings where people came forward with. And from this, and it was DLZ and SEH that were two consultants that worked on this. From this, DLZ compiled our GIS maps here that we have. And a lot of this is showing the areas that were study areas and also areas that we do have problems at. From that, we developed the top 10 list of drainage concerns, and I have that here, and I can read them off. The top 10 drainage concerns that we have going forward are Duck Creek watershed, and we do have individual studies on each one of these, and I have copies up in the office. Ludington Ditch watershed, which is coming out of Lake Eliza. Duck Creek watershed is over towards the West County line, 700 north, or I should say State Road 130, excuse me, and Lake Porter County line road. Damon Run watershed, north central part of the county in Liberty Township. Dog Lake watershed study, Dog Lake being out by Heber. Bernard Kaselke Ditch lateral 6 drainage study, that's over towards the Moraine Nature Preserve over in south of US 6, Suman Valley Road. Smith Ditch watershed, that's one just in the southeast side of Valparaiso. Brown Ditch watershed, that's up towards Pines. Kemper Ditch on 10, and that was a culvert study that was done. That work has been completed, and that was done with seeded funding, if I remember correctly. 700 north, and this is at county line, just south of Portage. And then number 10, the really big one, South Haven. The first 9 that I named off, to be able to fix these, is going to look at $5 to $10 million going forward to be able to work on these areas. South Haven is in the neighborhood of $16 to $18 million. Now, I have to point out, too, that South Haven is in a conservancy district, so right now we do not have jurisdiction on this area. So none of the fees that we collect right now can go into that area unless an agreement is forged between Twin Creeks Conservancy District and the county.
Very good. Looking at the map, it's pretty obvious that the areas that are the top 10 are the same areas that are in the light green on the other map. And they are our responsibility, and there is no means to provide for them economically at this point in time. And this fee is something that we've been talking about for a long time. So we might as well, unless anybody else has anything to say, we need to have a public hearing in this regard. So, anybody want to say anything before we do that? Okay. So I'll open the public hearing in regard to the ordinance to create a storm water management system user fee. We'll ask those people if they want to speak for or against this ordinance to come forward, state their name and address. And because this has been vetted as recently as yesterday, you'll be given 3 minutes. And we have many other things on our agenda today, so we'll be given 3 minutes to speak for one side or the other. And first we'll do those people that are opposed to this ordinance. So anyone that's opposed to this ordinance, please come forward. Name and address and your statement.
Charlotte Reed, CHARLOTTE, READ, 791 North Calumet Avenue, Valparaiso, Indiana, 46383. I am, as an environmentalist, very concerned about the issue of stormwater fees on land that is being preserved. And it sounds like nothing was done in terms of looking at an appeal process for conservation items. And so I hope that this will still be thought about and added. As several speakers said yesterday, those lands provide a free service of holding water. They do not, as far as I know, contribute to the stormwater fee problem that you're trying to solve. that the fee is trying to sell. So I hope that you will look at this issue, see that, yes, Walton Lake has land, there are several other 501c3 nonprofit organizations that are in the business of preserving land. As I mentioned yesterday, there's one land use that you don't expect will change. I'm not going to develop subdivisions and do land for preservation. I'm not going to do other things that will impede their ability to be of benefit to the county. And I did mention, and I only have 2 copies, I did mention that I thought that the county needed frequency asked questions for the public. This comes from Monroe County, and I found it useful. And I don't have a copy for you, Commissioner.
That's all right.
We'll make one for you.
I'll get one.
But I think it answers a lot of questions. It also has a very interesting way to handle residential areas. But my purpose in being here is to look at being able to preserve an exemption or create an exemption for those lands held in trust for public use and recreation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments are well taken.
Should we just go through the hearing, or
You-
we should
yes,
respond to any of it?
If you want to respond now, go ahead.
In our section that deals with appeals, I mean, it says that an appeal showing that the parcel is not impacting the existing stormwater system, I mean, you can be exempt from that. I mean, I feel like that we are dealing with that, because I agree with you.
But do you have a standard is what you're looking for? I don't know.
I think what it's meant to do is take each case on a case-by-case basis.
Because I say so, I recognize that. But what kind of standards, proof, showing do you plan? Or have you? It seems to me that just as a piece, there's a process mentioned in Monroe County, we might want to look at it, but I think it would be nice to know just exactly what landholding organizations for preservation would like to know. How can I make my case to the stormwater board? And I think that's only fair. Be more specific. Which is appeal, tell you.
Bob, can you shed some light on this for us?
You would be expecting landholding organizations to do.
One, we can't just flat out go right now within this ordinance and say that landholding for conservation purposes are exempt. We do have the appeal process, and I'm very familiar with the Monroe County ordinance. Matter of fact, the ordinance that's in front of you, we go about with a flat fee. I took the Monroe County ordinance and started going through it and changing things to fit what we needed. And one, with the appeal process, I wanted to make sure that, one, we were going to go forward with this. And then it is one of the things that I've been telling Commissioner Good, that we are going to have to sit down and look at this. And I also mentioned, I believe to Commissioner Blaney, that we are going to have to look at this process and how we go about doing this and setting ideals. I mean, Monroe County, on that, they have to provide a survey to come forward to the Stormwater Board to show why they were assessed improperly. Monroe County does use a different assessment form. But basically, the appeal process I did copy and took from the Monroe County ordinance that they do have in place.
And I understand, the need to be fair and to adjudicate the appeal process the same way every time and make sure that the people fall into it. But I think that those people that are associated with the conservancies need to recognize as well that many times those conservancies abut county roadways and drainage ways that are actually affecting what this ordinance is meant to regulate. So there's two sides to that story as well. So, but we will absolutely have a process in place to to look at it, so.
I think John brings up an excellent point. I mean, every piece of ground, what the appeal process will allow us to do is take a deeper dive on that particular piece of property.
Right.
Is this conservation ground contributing to a waterway? Does it have a road on it? What's it zoned? Is it zoned agricultural or is it zoned park? We have some pieces of conservation ground in South County that are actually zoned agricultural. Maybe they need to zone them park to where they'll never be touched. And then, so there's a lot of different things that go into all that. What we want to do in the appeal process is protect everybody's right to come before us and state their case. And I think if it merits that exemption, it should speak for itself. And so we're not, you know, having an appeal process in place and not even having our first appeal yet, there's going to be some things that we're probably going to learn as we go through it. And I think those are issues that we'll have to vet out down the future and down the road once we get going on this. But I think we're all aligned in the fact that if there is a piece of property and they are practicing conservation methods, they're not a drain on, so to speak, on the county, I think that some people could have a very good case to make for that exemption. So we're not against exemptions. I think it's just, how do you deal with all these parcels in the county where you can get them down into an area where you can look at them on a case-by-case basis and drill down into the details.
I think it's a case by case.
Yep.
Case by case.
Yep.
But impervious surfaces,
Well,
hydrology is, here's an appeal process, try it. It would be nice to have some guidance, even if you don't put it in the ordinance, some guidance as to how appellates can proceed, not to waste your time, not to waste their time. And I personally don't think that's an unreasonable request, and I hope you will.
Thank you. Point well taken. Anyone else wishing to speak? Oh, there's a gentleman.
I'll let her go, but...
As I mentioned last night, I hope...
Name and address for the record.
I'm half deaf, so and my device is not working. My name is Herbert Reed, Herbert Read. I live at 791 North Calumet Avenue, Valparaiso, 46383. To clarify where that is unincorporated border county. It's not part of the subdivision. It's just south of Route 6 on Old 49. So this would be a new tax for us, but I recognize, I say up front here, that I recognize that there is a federal mandate to do certain things with regard to non-point source pollution. And I'm willing to pay my share and whatever share, as long as it's fair and equitable, and that's kind of a hard thing to define, but it is. I also represent the Porter County chapter of the Isaac Walton League, which owns some 200 acres of land that would be affected. All but 2 acres of this land has some kind of a conservation easement on it, or zoning restrictions. And I understand that there were some changes made last night. And I would like to find out, I have a number of questions, but first of all, find out where can I get the official, complete copy of the changes that the board made last night? Bob or somebody else?
Do you have them with you, Bob?
I'll have it.
You'll have it, so I can see, Bob, as far as getting that. Now, some of that might require legal interpretation, somebody has to do that. I assume your lawyer does that, but anyway, it might be a question in the future. Another point is, maybe I should say everything I said last night applies for tonight in the record, but that takes more than 3 minutes. One thing I would like to know is that when we talk about culverts and pipes for South Haven or maybe other places, we are creating new point sources, which can have an effect on both flood control and management and water quality. So I don't think you can answer this right now, but where does that stuff go? Salt Creek, Burns Ditch, Lake Michigan, that point was brought up last night, and I thought it was a good one. And another point that maybe you haven't thought about is that some of the areas that you mentioned today, like up in the northeast part of the county, might go through the national park. What happens then? So, I don't think you've thought about it. I have, but I think you should think about it. Basically, our Porter County chapter functions to retain upstream impoundments, upstream water retention, which every expert in flood management and flood control recognizes is an essential part of what this is all about. In fact, your own ordinance says that you are empowered to acquire land for upstream impoundment by gift, condemnation, or purchase. So that your own ordinance recognizes the value of upstream water retention. And that's what our Porter County chapter is doing at no cost to the county. So that is a point that two of you heard last night, but Commissioner Evans, I don't think you did. I think you recognize that. The land that we own, most of the land, all but 2 acres, all of the land, is intended to provide a protected area leading into the national park at the east end, specifically the Blue Heron Unit. And we're trying to cooperate. The state DNR owns part of that property adjacent to us, to our property, and there are 1 or 2 wetland parcels which we hope to buy to complete the protected, by protected I mean conservation protected, mostly wetland, all of it with high water table, into the east end of the national park, and we have discussed this with the superintendent, and obviously he would like to make sure that clean water goes into the park, as we are. So, I don't know whether one other question. I know I'm going over. What happens, if you do something now, would you clarify whether or not this proposal goes to the county council?
It does.
It does? Okay. You've answered my question on that. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Herb.
Thank you, Herb.
Thank you, Herb. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition, sir?
Henry Bamus, 65 Prairie Parkway. Just have 2 questions. Number 1, how many acres are you going to add on right now with this change, roughly? They're going to be taxed. How many new acres are going to be taxed?
Oh.
Is that part of the survey? that they made? I'm just curious.
Bob, any idea?
Not right offhand, I can probably get those numbers based off of eliminating all of the layers that we had shown up there last, Chuck. Yeah, we can get it from them.
Then the fee you picked is just like this, right?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
The fee, well,
What does that mean?
I would say, guessing by golly, okay?
No.
But you know how many acres then? You don't know how many acres, how do you charge? That's my question, I guess. But do you have it? That's all my questions I have. Rest, I don't need an answer. I'd like to know how many acres there were. And you can do the math. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Third and final time, anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? All right, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Third and final, yes, sir.
I've just got one question. My name is Joe Jarney, council, 53 South Freedom East. I guess I don't get a newspaper. I want to, what is this money being asked for, is what basically is. What I heard this gentleman here say was that it was for tubes and so forth in the northern part of the county to be replaced in the future, or, I guess basically what are they asking for the money for?
Rob, you want to give a definition of what the fee is for?
There is one thing I forgot to mention during the presentation too. The crosshatched area is the regulated drain tax that is going on with the regulated drain. If this fee is to be passed on January 1st, the regulated drain fee will cease. They will no longer have that. So the intent is that the monies that are already in place for the regulated drain and the particular ditch that it has been assessed for will be there for any kind of maintenance or repairs that need to be done on that ditch. Any time after that, the new stormwater fee will pick up the maintenance and the work that are done on the agricultural ditches in the south. In the north, there's still a number of ditches, agricultural or natural, that could end up using some maintenance or work that needs to be done on it. The user fee will be for that. The fee will also go to replace infrastructure in older subdivisions or in areas, to fix legacy problems that we've had in a number of the developments or in areas in the county, and also to go to staffing to try to prevent any future problems that we would have. One of the things we do not have is an inspection program that's going on with developments going on. So that is one of the items. Plus, with the water quality, there is a number of issues that we have to do. We have to provide educational programs. We have to provide outreach on that. We have to go around and locate all of the point sources that are going into our streams that we maintain and have this on record for IDEM, monitor these with water quality, plus also go find out legal taps. So we're constantly working on issues such as water quality with that. That's currently, right now, is being paid for out of CEDAT.
And just to expound on that a little bit, what the whole federal mandate that has come down is what they're starting to require, and what the state of Indiana and IDEM are starting to require, is that counties have a comprehensive drainage plan for their entire county. And so a lot of the regulations that have been put into place in the past, how drainage has been done in this county, is it was sort of everybody was sort of doing their own thing. And what this requirement's going to now force is more regulation. It's going to make the cities and towns work with the county. So at the end of the day, what we're marching and moving forward is a comprehensive drainage program for the entire county, with continuity and with laws in place to work with the cities and towns, to where as this water flows through our county, it's clarified, it's rates at which they're running through. It's basically what this money's going to do. And we've talked about the top 10 problems, but there's more than the top 10 problems. We didn't even talk about Wheeler, and the area over in Wheeler, which is very low and has a lot of problems over in Wheeler. But it is something, you know, in my estimation, drainage and roads, they're the backbone of this county. This is what we do. This is the whole purpose of county government, is to take care of our roads and our drainage. And right now, we don't have a comprehensive plan. We don't have funding mechanisms in place. And I would beg to anybody, like I have in the last meeting, was to take some time, drive down in South County, and see the work that's been done in South, and see what the ditch fees have produced over the last 20 years down there. And what you'll see is we have very good drainage system down there. But that came at a cost. And fortunately for us, the farmers and the people in the south part of the area have carried that weight, or carried that water, so to speak, for a long time. And it's time now to equal the playing field, and it's time now to get everybody involved, because whether you like it or not, your water goes north or your water goes south. And that's what we're trying to do, is move it through the county the best way possible, with the best flow rates possible. And why we're doing that, we're trying to clean up that water as it goes. And at the end of the day, it takes money. It just takes money. And you put regulation on top of it, now it takes more money. And the one thing that I've learned being here and being on the drainage board, that doing nothing costs you more money too. And we're seeing that right now. We're seeing that right now. We have a case coming before us after this where we have to declare emergency, and we have to go into Sylvan Manor and replace a large culvert that has just collapsed. And it's not really in anybody's perusal, but the citizens expect the county to step up and go do this. And what these funds are going to allow us to do is to be able to be more reactive to our citizens and give them the support and the needs that they need going forward. Plus, it's also time to equal the playing field on who pays this fee. So that's my position on this, and I think I've been very clear. So, go ahead.
So then, in other words, then, over the past 25, 30 years, ditch assessments that have been mainly in the south part of the county are going to be going away?
Yes, what will happen is, when and if this ordinance is passed, what happens is there will be a freeze on all the ditch tax fees. We have over, I can't remember, Kevin is here, but I think we have over 100, close to 100 ditches that have fees established with them, and it's an accounting, it's a lot of accounting, but each area has been assigned that that's their watershed in that ditch, and those people that are in that watershed in that ditch are assessed that money. They pay into that ditch fee. That money can only be spent in that ditch for those people. When these accounts freeze, that will still happen, but we'll use those monies in those ditch fees until they're totally depleted to zero, and then slowly the ditch fees will go away. Because we still have a few bucks in there. It's not a lot.
The fee's gonna go away.
But the ditch fee will go away.
The money
It will
that's
freeze.
left.
And then agricultural will be $2.75 an acre. And it's a flat fee.
You won't get charged both things at the same time.
Well, and I was curious of the money that's sitting there, because I think in the one that there's,
You're protected.
this summer there was over $250,000.
And that'll go to your ditch. That's
That'll
not
go to your
leaving.
ditch, when and if it needs that problem. It'll sit there as long, it can't be used for anything else statutorily. That's a no-no.
So one vouch to say it passed, it hasn't.
Most of the farmers and the people from South County and the people we've talked to that are going to be affected by this the most are the people that are paying the ditch fee already for their agricultural area, that are jumping for joy because now this makes it a fairer proposition for everyone involved. Yeah.
This is the first time anybody's sitting here today, so that's why I was questioning.
If you live in a municipality, you already pay this type of fee. And you know, their water runs out where? To the county most of the time. So, you know, it's the day of the squeaky wheel getting the the drainage work is over because it's gonna be fair across the board, so we try to do that with the fee as well, so. Okay, one more time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance, please come forward. Last time, gone. Public hearing is closed. Comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, Bob?
I just want to respond to Mr. Reed's point that where he was talking about New Point sources and the water quality aspect. With that, I would say that in the top 10 problems that we did, 6 of those were in the Lake Michigan watershed. Every single one of those reports has a water quality aspect within those reports. We were required to do that because we did receive a grant from the DNR on that. So we do have water quality aspects addressed into those study areas. Also with the South Haven report that I did review, that was done by DOZ, and I do believe that they did add water quality aspects into those reports too.
Comments? Same sentence? I think we've kind of made our point of view pretty clear, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to create an ordinance for the stormwater system user fees. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This will have to have a second reading, and it cannot be today, so we'll have to sign it to our next regular meeting.
December 1st.
Can I ask a quickie question?
Yes, sir.
Does your approval of this, or first reading approval of this, include changes that were made last night?
Yes.
Correct.
It does.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for all your hard work on this. This has not been an easy task for
Yeah,
anyone
thank you,
involved. Okay, David James, Highway Supervisor, and Dave Burris, Drainage Board Member. We're going to have a discussion, an emergency status for a culvert replacement at Sylvan Manor subdivision on Moreland Drive.
Asked and answered
Yes?
by our Commissioner Good. We have a situation over in Sylvan Manor subdivision on Moreland Drive between the addresses of 158 and 160 of a 24-inch culvert that's metal that has failed. We tried to do everything we could possibly do to be non-invasive. We even had my contractor from Temple & Temple, Southern Indiana, that's our slip liner, go in there to neck-deep water to find out that it's completely failed, and we're worried about the road collapsing. From that point, I'll let David take over.
The condition he just described is critical from another point of view. The small diameter of the culvert has been known to gather debris and back up and flood, and thereby a number of times creating flooding within homes on Horn Road on the south side of Sylvan Manor. And now, with the deterioration of that culvert that David's talking about, we're not only concerned about the possibility of the debris collecting, but also the internal components of that culvert stopping the flow and causing a flood very quickly. This road has an embankment, or is on an embankment that's probably 10 or 12 feet above the culvert level. And therefore, if this thing would receive a tremendous amount of water, it could create a 10 or 12-foot lake on the Horn Road side. So with the flooding potential and with the possibility of road surface being deteriorated, we would like to expedite the process of repairing and replacing this. And we're talking about putting in a culvert that's 4 feet in diameter instead of 2 feet, and it'd be concrete instead of corrugated metal. This is a classic example of the legacy costs that Bob was mentioning earlier, and this is a classic work where we're working jointly, and the Drainage Board contribution is some of their seeded funds that are going to go away. So we fit into the description of activities that we were just talking about. We understand then that our process can be expedited by the declaration of an emergency, and we would hope to get this done before winter weather sets in.
Questions?
I know by sitting on the Drainage Board with Dave and the other Dave coming to all of our meetings, that this has been an area that's been discussed and looked at. We had some access issues. We've had a lot of issues out there. So this is something that we've been working on in the Drainage Board meetings for quite some time. I'm glad to see that we got the access issues worked out, and that we can get in there and do this work. I think that anytime there's a potential of a collapsed pipe and people's houses flooding, in my opinion, that's an emergency. I take that seriously, and so I think from my perception and being on the drainage board and working through these issues, I'm in support of that, so.
Thank you. Anything?
Nope.
The only thing I might ask is that, have we learned from this process whereby, in other words, when somebody wants to build the next Sylvan Manor, that we're going to have this calculation figured in ahead of time and be able to say, this is a problem, and not put in a metal pipe, put in a concrete pipe and twice the diameter?
Can I put 2 cents on that?
Sure.
We've come a long way, and the Plan Commission, in their review of subdivision plans, is doing a terrifically thorough job of reviewing those plans and looking at it from a design point of view. The weak spot that we still have is the fact that we don't have any construction inspection capability at all for anything on a new subdivision, other than what David's engineer does as a part of the road situation. This whole stormwater thing is also going to provide for us the opportunity to get an inspector in the field. And I think that's probably one of the biggest advantages, is that not only are we going to still be faced with legacy costs, but we're going to be able to stop adding to those. And I think that's a big step in the right direction.
Great, great. Thank you, David. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the emergency relief.
Second. Oh, I made the motion. I thought you were making the motion. I'm sorry, John.
No problem.
I'm sorry.
We have a motion and a second, and all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Go dig her up.
Mike Anton, Lee Westergren, Anton Insurance, Troy Scott, R&R Benefits. We're going to talk a couple of health insurance-related topics.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come before you and make this presentation. We'll try to be, since you have such a heavy schedule, as brief as possible and not have anyone's eyes glaze over.
That's okay.
So approximately 3 weeks ago, you were in receipt of a letter from our current third-party administrator, Stuart C. Miller, giving the county a 60-day termination notice that his services would no longer be available after the first of the year. We'd like to present today a solution to that issue, and that is with a recommendation that you considered enlisting the services of a company called Benefit Administration Services, otherwise the acronym BAS, for going forward from 1/1/2016 for the 2016 year. Before I turn it over to Troy to give you more of the specifics related to that transition, I would simply say that we have experience with BAS. They represent NICD, which Commissioner Evans, I know, is familiar with, and I think the other two commissioners certainly have heard about that. They represented NICD for the last 5 years, and so we're quite familiar with that operation, the principals in that operation. Troy has had experience with BAS and other jurisdictions, so we are very comfortable with bringing this recommendation before you today. When Troy is done with his portion of the presentation, Lee will just comment about some of the communications issues related to this transition, assuming that you go ahead and approve it. Troy?
Thank you. Commissioners, as Mike stated, it's when you're making a transition to a third-party administrator, there's many things you need to look at on a year-end change. This is a mid-year change. So, it was very important that we both had familiarity with BAS, and we do. Other things we looked at is that BAS need to be very familiar with the strategies we put in place this year as far as cost containment, and they are. We look to, do they have experience with our vendors and, relationships in the past and also current relationships, and they did. And then, lastly, the fee structure had to be very comparable, and we were able to negotiate it to where it is very comparable to what we had in place. So based on all those things, we feel that BAS is the right choice to continue the success we've had with the benefits and the claims this year. There's many enhancements, we feel, that BAS brings to the table, not only in the form of technology, but reporting, actionable reporting that we will be able to use and make decisions to continue the success we're having. And also for the employees, they will have some advancements in FSA. They'll have a debit card with this new program, which is a nice feature. And they'll have some value add where they'll be able to go online, have an employee portal where they'll be able to see their explanation of benefits almost live, get answers, customer service-wise and not. So BAS is, I think, a very strong choice in our recommendation. We have a agreement for you to review and approve. I've had an opportunity to speak with council Ms. Knight. There are a few minor changes we need to make regarding the term. This will be a one-year contract. We both agree that the way it's written and the provisions are a little unclear. I will get those cleared up based on her recommendations. And then we just need to add the E-Verify. We either need to incorporate it or have an amendment there too. And the contract as presented with those two small changes is our recommendation.
Questions? Betty, that's your take on those two provisions?
Right, it's just to make it clear that it's a one-year contract and that it's not in perpetuity, that renews automatically every year without you having a chance to take a look at it.
Right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract contingent on the attorney's final approval.
I'll make the motion.
Motion?
I'll second.
In a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very good.
Thank you.
Lane, you just want to make...
Yes, Commissioners, we will create a communication piece for all of the employees, distribute it to them by email, also through their department heads, and we'll get those ID cards out to them the next few weeks.
Very good.
And we'll also set up some meetings here in the Commissioners' chambers, the Expo, Sheriff's Department, et cetera, to answer any questions that anyone may have in regards to the transition.
Will we be able to do some online training for the portals and that to show people how to access it, and maybe just give them a little tutorial, because that seems to be a problem that we're having, getting our people to go to, some of our people to go to the technology site. So I think if we could try to show them how to do it. Okay.
So we will definitely get that set up.
Good, thank you.
And in the communication, it'll have the way that they can access that portal.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Anything else?
I'd just make one more comment. The performance of the plan to date is still causing us to be ahead of the goal that the board here set last April. Yes, we're knocking on wood.
It scares me every time you say this.
But we're okay.
Good. Well, we appreciate that. I appreciate seeing Steve Brady here because he was very instrumental in us going to that plan, and his recommendations and his due diligence on our behalf was very much appreciated. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve was here just to check in.
Oh, you would make sure you do your job, right? Good. Mike Jabo, DLZ, we're going to do a quote on recommendations for the jail security system.
Sure.
The sheriff's with him? Yeah. Hey, Michael.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Mike.
Good afternoon.
David, how are you?
Good. Commissioners, at your October 27th meeting, three bids, and I apologize, the recommendation letter's got 4, that should be corrected. 3 bids were received for the Porter County Jail Security System Project. Since that time, you deferred it to staff for review. We reviewed it from an administrative perspective. The sheriff's staff did a very thorough review of comparing all the bids received. And as the recommendation points out, it is recommended that we found that Videotech Corporation was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder with the project on a lump sum base bid of $1,062,018. And they did have a optional 3-year lease purchase at a total payment of $1,127,863, and an optional 5-year lease purchase of $1,178,839. I've also consulted with the sheriff and their staff. They concur with our findings. The only matter left unresolved, if you wish to proceed, is which method do you wish to pay for it?
Let's do it in 2 separate phases. Let's first award the bid and then talk about the money. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid at the recommendation of staff.
I will make the motion. It's nice to have the best bid be also the cheapest.
And be a local firm.
Yes.
Yes. I'll second it.
Motion and a second.
I'd like to say, I met with the sheriff and his staff, as the other 2 commissioners have too. I was very impressed by the level of detail that went into this. I think that there's been a lot of heavy lifting done, and a really deep dive's gone into this. It's a lot of money, but I feel very comfortable in how it was vetted out, and I just want to thank you and your team for what they did. It was very in-depth, and I was very impressed, so thank you.
Thank you. How long's the jail been open?
2002?
The guy that just left here did the opening ceremony, Dave Burris. Right. Seems like yesterday, but when you look at your computer at home and you look at the equipment that you had in 2002, I guess we are damn lucky to eke out as much time as we have. So, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, the funding we can do all at once, 3 years or 5 years.
Yep, that is correct.
Yep.
What's your feelings on the issue?
Well, we talked about the lease a little bit. I talked to a couple of the council members too. Just, we're getting the hospital money invested, but it's not done yet, and we're cutting things pretty close. So in light of just available cash through 2016, we were thinking maybe we should go with a lease option. One of the questions we had for you is there a prepayment penalty?
That would have to be with the terms. I've not looked at the terms the contractors provide. Once you made the award, then we can begin those discussions.
I know in our meeting yesterday, John Shivel stated that he had done some government lease projects in the past, and from his recollection, he doesn't ever remember a prepayment penalty in that lease, but that's not to say that this wouldn't, but I think that would be our biggest concern. Obviously, there's other legal issues in a lease too, that our council would look at, but I think based on my first experience going through the budget process this year and seeing the forecast for 2016, I would sort of err on the side of caution, and I think a lease would be able to handle that for us, at least for the next 2 years, that third year giving us another option. The interest rates that on the lease that Mike gave us, I think the 3-year lease was at 3.25%, and the 5-year lease was 3.49%. So it's really low interest rates on that money. So we're not going to be incurring a tremendous amount of interest in doing this, but that's sort of my piece, John, on that. So
my only thought was I've had a conversation with the sheriff, and he can scrape up about $500,000. I mean, if we look at your federal prisoner side and
I don't think I can scrape up 500.
Yeah.
I have to get money in there because that's where we feed.
Okay. So, what's your bottom line?
Well, you've got, what we looked at is that the Fed money on both sides, your money and our money.
Okay.
You have actually, I don't know how much you have, 300 and
Vicki will do it for us.
And
But
keep
we,
in mind that the federal and state prisoner money all goes into the general fund. Are you talking about the stuff in the budget unappropriated?
But it's not...
No, we're talking about that budget.
Yeah, but it's not the general fund money. It might go into it. Well, then we got to talk about
Yeah.
that.
but that was my only thought, is to save the interest cost at all, if we could, if that was a possibility with what was there, and then maybe go after
I'm not
hospital
sure what
interest.
happened with that, but that money by contract with the feds, is that money generated, that you get and we get, I mean, they could put it in the general fund, but it's our money. Because that money goes to how you operate and maintain the jail. and the
Utilities
building,
and, yeah.
And then how we use it for the inmates. So, I'm not sure when all that happens, but...
But does that have to be encumbered every year, Vicki, or is it just rolled over into the next year? And it's in general fund, it's not in a line item?
No, there are two general fund budgets. One's called the 1217 budget, one's called 1233 budget. But they're funded out of the general fund. One is from the jail's perspective, the sheriff has control over that budget, and the other, you have control over the 12.
And do they roll over? Like any money that's left at the end of
Does
the
it have to be
year?
encumbered, or does it...
It's not its own fund. The
So
revenue that...
Does it roll over or not?
To
No.
the extent that all general fund budgets roll over, yes, but it's not guaranteed to your budget.
That's right.
So it needs to be
It goes over
encumbered.
in the general fund, and it stays in the
Yeah.
general fund, so it would be...
I think what Dave Reynolds is talking about is that in a few years ago, a number of years ago, the jail, the state and federal prison money went into its own discretionary fund. It was not the general fund, but the State Board of Accounts has long had the position that state and federal prisoner money really should be treated as miscellaneous revenue coming into the general fund. And I believe that the state sort of forced Porter County to make this change in or around 2011.
It's been a couple of years, yeah.
How much money is in those two funds right now?
In the budget,
In wherever it's at,
Well, the budget's really all there is, right?
yeah.
But if they have a line item, and we have a line item.
correct.
So how much is it, those two together, how much is in there?
But it's not its own separate fund, it's part of the general fund.
I understand.
We can track the revenue that you bring in, it closely matches with the budget percentage. the last few years.
I think ours is 200,000 and theirs is 300,000.
I think yours is close to over 3 and ours...
Or vice versa.
I think we were over 3, but...
But is
Unencumbered.
that number the budget, or is that number of amount of revenue you were tracking? I mean,
How much do you need of that monthly, Michelle,
With our portion of it, we have budgeted,
through the
I
rest of the
think we
year?
only have about 20-some thousand left.
Through the rest of the year.
That's budgeted through the rest of 20.
And your share?
so we have $20,000 available, right?
Just about $10,000 a week.
Okay, so you have one more month and a half to get through that, and how much a week? About how much a week?
10K.
10,000 a week? 40, 60? Christmas presents?
So far left in the line item appropriations in the 1233 is about $22,015. And then your budget, 1217. You have 194,316 left in all the different line items.
That is just the line items, you're not counting, you're not talking about the balance in those accounts, you're talking about line item balances.
Correct.
Right, but not the balance of the money in the account.
But I think we're talking apples and oranges a little bit. 'Cause they're not their own accounts, right? I mean, the revenue just goes into the big pot, so if it's not budgeted, it's not.
For example, in 1217, including grocery, you've so far spent about $227,000. You have $189,000 left in that line item.
But even though maybe more came in through the federal prison program, that's not, that went in the big pot, right? That's not like waiting for us to appropriate.
No.
So that's great.
Did you say the state forced us to do that?
Pardon me?
The state forced us to put that money in the general fund?
Yes.
And I was here when that happened, and I never was given any information about that. I wasn't even given an explanation on why that happened. You weren't in that position where you're at now. When that happened, I was given no explanation, even though I asked repeatedly why, and I was given no explanation. So I don't know what state mandate was, but it was put into the general fund.
You asked the former auditor? You asked the former auditor?
Yeah.
And you expected an answer?
Didn't get an answer.
I will say that the State Board of Accounts has had this as their guidance for a number of years. And I can find that for you.
Yeah, is there a way that we can get a position statement from the DLGF to where they can give us something to guide off of, or?
We signed the original contract with the feds when we got this money, and part of that agreement was that the money generated would go towards the operation of the jail and the maintenance of the jail, and that's why we split it up that way. How the State Board of Accounts can figure out that all of a sudden it goes into general fund,
Right, I know they've been doing it for a number of years.
Is that contract still in effect to get that one?
I think their take on it was, they may give you the money, but they can't tell you where to spend it. So, I think that's what they figured when they changed, because they did change it, like 2010, 2011, something like that.
We changed it in 2013.
13?
But if the money stays in your line item and my line item, then even if they say it goes into a general fund, it should still be your money and my money, because we need that money. Then I don't understand.
I thought it's your money and it's our money if we get it with approval of the council by the end of the year. If we don't, it rolls into the general fund, and it's a general fund carryover.
I don't even think that, is it? No.
That money stays in there, it rolls over every year. I keep track of that.
So she's saying.
No, it's deposited in the general fund, and you can see right now, this is the revenue account, and it's in the general fund, and it is accounted for under subfund 1217, which is yours. And then so that's the total of the state and federal revenue that's come in, that's been designated or accounted for under the 1217 and then the 1233 one.
And we're to get another deposit in that account this month or next month?
Usually you do monthly, right?
You get multiple for different things, transportation, housing.
I'll do whatever you guys want to do. If you want to avoid the interest, we can probably try to attach some of this money, and I don't know how much there's left in unallocated CEDA, but if we don't have to pay the interest, we don't have to pay the interest.
Maybe a recommendation, listening to your discussion, your concern is early payment. We've not officially in public awarded the contract. Having kind of done that, could you award contingent upon, and I'll go research the documents, give you comfort on early payment penalties, et cetera, and maybe by your next meeting, or do you want to decide this meeting?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we can do that, and we'll just hold off on the...
Because I know you gotta get moving.
I mean, that's whatever, and I think we should find out how much money we can take out of our side, too, towards what you need.
Yeah. So why don't we work with the auditor and find out where there are dollars available from any aspect, and find out what we can negotiate with the vendor as to early prepayment, and go from there.
Because I view it to be two documents that if you go with the lease purchase, one is going to be, my understanding from the contractor, he is not the bank, so it's another company, so then they're going to have a contract.
Sure.
I'm sure the attorney's gonna wanna look at that before she recommends one way or the other. And then second, we'll have the contract with the contractor, of course, which was included in the bid documents. If you wish, we can pursue to do due diligence on that.
My only thing was looking at the rainy day fund, which we have in the jail, still $150,000 left. That's gonna get you through 6 months of the first 3 year, you know. It's gonna give us opportunity to figure out this in here. And, you know, I think the payments are, what, $30-some thousand a month is what it's gonna be. And I think if it gets us through that 1 year, and then we can, once we sort of know where we're at, and we get these jail funds figured out and things, I think then that's when I was thinking we just come back and maybe take it out. I'm just worried about that 1 year, and I know that kept coming up in our meetings with the council during budget times. I want to be respectful of them, too, because that's what we did talk about. So that's sort of where I was going with it. I'm really not looking at taking it the whole 3 years out. I'm just looking at taking it through to get us over this hump. That's really where I'm coming from.
Okay, I think that's a great idea, a good compromise. We've awarded the contract. Mike, if you'll come back to us at our next meeting and give us the options that the vendor provides for the terms. In the interim, we'll have Vicki and Michelle get their heads together and see what money's readily available here that we can attach, or if we should just go to the terms of the contract.
So in effect, you'd make motion to award contingent upon whatever was just said then?
Yep.
Yeah, we've already done that. We've awarded based on the recommendation. So it's been awarded.
Now we have to research the financing options.
Waiting on the financing.
Yep.
Okay, wait a minute.
Expect to see you tomorrow.
Yeah. You had the Marison Son Certificate of Substantial Completion Revision for the roof replacement at the museum.
There was an error in the date, and it has to do with your warranties. This simply corrects the previous one you did, so you have the accurate date.
Okay. So we need a motion to accept the recommendation, the amended recommendation. Motion second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Sheriff, why don't you stay there, we'll go right to office holders and department heads since you're in the hot seat already. So, we want to talk about Star uniform with an estimate for 7 police body armor vests.
Yeah, we need 5 right now, but we have 2 new hires, so we need a total of 7.
And the dollar amount?
$5,100.
And 10.
And 10.
Okay. And we just did some a couple months ago, didn't we? Where did we take that money from, Michelle?
It was we transferred it from CEDAT, so we'll have to do a transfer within CEDAT. It'll be on your guys' next agenda, and then it'll go in front of the council on the 1st.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion then to approve it based on the transfer being approved by the county council.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. And we're going to talk about the 2016 vehicle fleet.
Yeah, we're requesting to put bids out for 2016 police vehicles.
Okay, how many vehicles?
I don't have a set amount, but we can get back to you as soon as you want that.
Okay.
We'd like to stick with the Ford,
Okay.
if possible.
How many Explorers versus Crown Vics? Or?
Yeah, we've been purchasing just the Explorers.
Okay.
All-wheel drive, better for the county roads.
No more Crown Vics.
No more?
Yeah,
They're
Crown
about
Vics
the
are
same
good.
price, too, if I remember the last time, so.
They're very comparable, though.
Yeah.
Just remember my golden rule.
Yeah.
One for one, pecuniary liability. Thank you very much. Okay.
Absolutely.
And the sheriff had a request about the Expo Center, using it for the Sheriff's Department Christmas party.
Yeah, from what I was told, that if we can provide the cleanup, that we can ask you if it was okay, then they could waive the 15% and $1 per plate. And Monday we can come in and clean it like it's never been cleaned. We have some people willing to do that.
You aren't doing anything else, right?
Hey, maybe we ought to see how this goes, right, Lori? Get your own cleaning
Yeah,
staff.
regular cleaning crews. So.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the cleaning. That fee is what is paid by the caterer for use of the kitchen.
Okay.
Okay.
But we'll still clean it.
But we'll still clean it.
Okay. Okay.
No problem here.
Do we need a motion, or?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you. And thank you for coming to us first on that. That's-
Right, and
That's
thanks,
nice, because a lot of people expect
For
it.
help with the jail, too.
Sure,
Yeah, hey.
no problem. Sharon Lippens, ITS Director, Adams Remco purchase and copier maintenance agreement awarded at the October 27th meeting for copy machines, hardware, and maintenance for Porter County government.
The copy queen.
She is.
Copy your queen.
Is there a change in this, or do we need to do something different, or?
These are machines that were outlined on the RFQ that was awarded at the last meeting, so these are subsequent contracts for the purchase. We did not purchase all of the machines that were outlined in the RFQ, and that was stated that we may or may not. These are a few to utilize the monies that we have left in this year's budget, and the other ones we'll get next year when the new budget cycle starts. And each of these offices have agreed to cover the maintenance, which is less than what they're paying now, for next year's budget as well.
Okay.
So we have 3 agreements.
I'll make a motion to accept the agreement.
Motion to accept the agreements?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then NITCO agreement to change our phone line company from Acme to NITCO and add a second dedicated internet line, and all this is done at a lower cost to us.
Correct. The current agreement was a 3-year agreement. It expired, so we went out for multiple quotes again. We did look at NITCO, Frontier, and Comcast, and NITCO was the lowest quote, or excuse me, not Comcast, NITCO, Frontier, and Acme. Acme is our current vendor. One of the benefits to changing to NITCO is we get free long distance, so there's a substantial savings there, as well as a reduced monthly cost as well. So the net savings on just changing our, what they're called SIP trunks, which is what our VoIP phones are, is about $24,000. However, we would like to add a separate internet line to the courthouse. Right now, all the county buildings come to our building for internet, and with so many more applications being internet-driven and not local-driven, we felt that with the court system and things like that, that they probably would be better served to have their own internet line at the courthouse, so we've added that in, which is about $2,000 a year, so that reduces the savings there by $2,000, but we're still going to see a $22,000 savings per year on our phone lines.
What a deal. You know, you use there's a trunk that goes from the courthouse to the museum.
We have a fiber line.
Okay, and will you make that from their new line, or will that continue the way it is?
It'll work the same way. There's a fiber connection between the museum and the Opera House to the courthouse, so they are actually like they're local.
Okay.
So they'll seamlessly, once the courthouse moves over, there's a separate SIP trunk that goes out the courthouse and a separate SIP trunk that goes out the admin center, and Portage wirelessly connects through the courthouse for their phones.
Very good. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to accept the NITCO agreement to change our phone line company. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Sharon,
Yes.
I got a question for you. Laura and I have been talking about ways to try to enhance the presence of our venues, and we were wanting to know if it would be at all possible that on the homepage of the county's website, because I've been on there and I noticed there's a lot of white space on there, I was wondering if there was a way that your department could work with the Expo and the Opera House and maybe trying to develop some advertising on our website for our own venues.
Sure.
And if you could do that, I think that's a value add for those venues. It's something we're already paying for. Could you work with us on that and our folks?
Yes, right now we have a spot on the left, which is a spotlight on, which we tend to put things that are current interest. The park's winter lights, if there's a show going on, or the animal shelter at times has had reduced adoption fees for different events. Always happy to work with anybody to put any of that on. We can put more than one, it's not exclusive.
Yeah, maybe we could have a rotating schedule, but when those schedules aren't on, then we have static ads for our venues, that something's always on there. I just think this is a great opportunity for us to get our name out there again maybe it's even a link or whatever to whatever, but just a thought.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And I do know the Expo has been working with our vendor and myself to look at enhancing, we already have modules that allow for online reservations and things like that for their facility. They have their facilities online. Some of the features that the facilities offer, you can look at what the rates are, you know, how much is it to rent this space, how much is it for chairs, how much is it for linens, and all those different things are on there so that people that are doing their research online can get the information they need without having to make a phone call or wait to get something in the mail.
Okay.
So Lori's been working on that with me as well.
It'd be nice with the Opera House if we could link for tickets and other things too, so. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Mike Harper, Weights and Measures Director, Software Contract. Afternoon, Mike.
How
Hi, Mike.
are you guys doing?
Good. Has, Betty, have you reviewed the contract? Yeah. Okay. And this is to put you back into the 18th century or 19th? Get you up there someplace close, huh? Okay. Questions?
No.
Anything you want to say about it?
No, I mean, it's gonna make my job a lot easier,
Okay.
Good thing.
being on the field, so.
You want to give us some money back then, or salary? You want to give?
Yeah.
You want to? Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion then to approve the software contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
David James, Highway Supervisor, bid recommendations for the 2016 supply and services. This is going to be painless, right, David?
Very painless.
Okay.
Very painless.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Only one page?
We only opened up 6 bids. Let's streamline it.
With Al's departure and cutting them down the last couple of years, we streamlined this. Everything was in order with all the bids that were remitted, and the bid bonds and bid checks that's checked out as well. There were 6 categories, so we don't cut ourselves short. You'll see in front of you what I have proposed, and if you want to go through line by line, we can do the 6. I don't know how you have to go through that legally, so.
That's okay. I think I'll just kind of read through them. I have one question before we do that.
Okay.
On every one of the 6, you have accept all bids except for the diesel fuel. Is there a reason?
There's a reason for that, because it's all or nothing with the diesel companies.
Okay.
It's either one person or none, and they don't want to, and we'd have to go for rebid if the other one fails, so.
Okay, gotcha. So the first bid was for limestone and U.S. Aggregate, Ralston Trucking, Whitcomb Trucking, Harry Brown Trucking. The advice is to accept all bids. The second was for slag, Ralston Trucking, Phoenix Trucking, and again, the advice is to accept all bids. Bituminous Plant Mix, Central Paving, Reith Riley Construction, Walton McKelly, accept all bids. Calcium Chloride Products, Great Lakes Chloride, accept their bid. Diesel fuel, this is where the differences come in. A.L. Warren Oil, Coal Alliance, and Triple J-Mar Petroleum were the bidders, and the recommendation of staff is to accept the Triple J-Mar Petroleum bid. And then culverts, Debco Metal Culverts, and St. Regis Culverts, and the recommendation is to accept all bids. I think we can do them all at once. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of staff in all 6 categories?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay, painless. Okay, you're right.
Painless.
All right, Lori Daly, Expo Center Director, 2016 catering agreements. Boy, all this 2016 talk makes you think we're getting close to the end of the year, doesn't it? Hello, Lori. Who did I forget? Oh, I almost didn't I? My check mark carried too far down. Okay. We'll get there. Okay, so do we need to know who they're with, or are they any different than?
The only one we added was Kelsey. Strongbow did not re-up, obviously, because they got sold and the market didn't feel they were ready to take on something like that.
Okay.
Everything else is the same.
So is there a motion to accept the catering contracts as submitted for 2016?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries.
When we do these next year, would it be okay to extend it a year so we don't have to do this every year?
Was it that hard?
No, but, I know,
Well,
Makes
you know,
sense.
I think...
Or do you want to see it every year?
I can understand your
Yeah.
sentiment, because if someone new comes along, we always entertain their contract mid-year
We did that
anyway.
for picks earlier this year.
I don't know,
Fine with me.
yeah.
I was just giving her a hard
We
time.
could maybe accept them, for a 2-year period unless anything significantly changes, I don't know, what
Okay.
do you think?
So maybe when we do it next year, we'll just do it, we'll put on the contract.
You don't like to come and see us?
I do, but I've been here a lot.
Okay.
It's just a lot of paperwork every year when it's been the same people for a long time.
You want to amend the motion for
I
a
will.
2-year term?
Is that gonna make you have to do all this paperwork again? Would you rather start it next
But
year?
I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Okay.
You may change our mind next year.
I know.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Jim Shadley, Maintenance Department. We're going to talk about quotes for an alarm detection system and sprinkler system for North County and this building, and the courthouse, and the sheriff's department. Wow, sounds like a lot of money to me.
Not really. You know, fire inspections are due, for all the county buildings except JDC. Wasn't the meeting before last, he told me to get 3 bids. So I got 3 bids, and that is what we got one from American Fire, one from Valley Fire, and one from F.E. Moran.
Okay. Are they all comparing apples and apples?
I believe so.
Okay, are we getting bigger bang for the buck from one from another?
To be honest with you, I couldn't answer that, honestly.
Having reviewed the bids dollar-wise, what's your recommendation?
Well, to reasonable, F.E. Moran is the most reasonable one.
And theirs is a total of $9,390?
No, for the 3-year contract, it'll be $30,997.
Questions?
Well, all of these different places satisfy whatever requirements we have for inspections from...
Well, they did a walkthrough, and they told me what they needed.
So this
American
was,
Fire, I'm
this was
sorry.
field verified.
Yes, we had a gentleman named Jerry Harden come out from F.E. Moran, and Valley Fire had Terry O'Malley and, I can't remember his last name.
And when are these up again?
All the buildings are due from April.
They're due now?
Yes.
So we're going to do them now, or we're going to wait until January?
No, they have to be done
They
now.
have to be done now.
So the contract would start now and then continue for another 2 years.
Right.
Just looking, the calculations, have you got a sheet that shows the difference in all 3 bids, or just that's just F.E. Moran?
No, there's another sheet on it. Well, yours isn't all loaded either. They're taking a long time to load.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
So it's roughly $10,000 a year for 3 years.
Oh, they're all on there?
Yeah.
So the
So
30,000
the
is
first
one
one
building,
is,
it's for all.
No, it's,
All the buildings.
yeah, that's
$12,997.
that was a total of.
$34,866,
Okay.
46,104.42. You are correct, F.E. Moran is the lowest bidder.
Yep.
And they're gonna qualify with all the other stuff, they jumped through all the bells and whistles, made,
F.E. Moran is a one-stop shop, they can do it all.
And I believe, Lori, that F.E. Moran has been working with us out at the Expo Center too, right? And they're pretty...
They're great to work with. They're the ones that put in the sprinkler system, which is the 3 barns, which, that's why I called them for something I needed.
So the 4-H is using them too out there as well, okay.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the Maintenance Department for F.E. Moran for the fire inspection?
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I have a question. I got your email reference the locks at
Yes.
ADC. The billing on that was for the jail.
That's who, Jerry, who used to order them, for some reason, set everything on the billing, that through the jail. It just says title jail, even though it's for the juvenile detention center. I can have him change the direct billing. It comes to us, but it's just for some reason the account itself is titled Porter County Commissioners, and then for some reason it has like a subtitle of jail.
Okay, let's change it the other way around. Let's change it to Porter County Commissioners, and then the subtitle to wherever building or the structure is going into.
Okay.
Okay. And go ahead and get it.
Go ahead and order them.
Okay, all righty.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, where are we at? Reports from commissioners, huh? Let's see. Oh, there's only one on there. North District. It's change order number 2 for the replacement of bridge number 156, Porter Avenue over Coffee Creek. And by the way, it finally is open. In the amount of $15,631.50 for subgrade treatment revision. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same
There's
sign.
another one.
Motion carries. Oh, you've got another one.
South District.
Oh, good.
Oh,
So there.
didn't make my list. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry.
LPA claim forms 1, 2, 3, and 4 for Porter County Replacement Bridge 62, County Road 1000 South over Kankakee River, in the amounts of $6,986.02, $6,978